All
Hello.
right.
We both started. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Pass First podcast. I'm here. My name is Hugh, and I'm here with Max.
I'm here as well.
And we are here to discuss a few different happenings in the NBA. Nothing new has really happened in the past, couple days since we went live, but there is an interesting format that's come to popularity.
Yes,
Max.
there is, Hugh. There was recently a NBA general manager survey that went around, and it was basically proposing different ideas on how and when the NBA should return, ideally for just the playoffs. And Kevin O'Connor on The Ringer wrote a really good piece just kind of summarizing everything that went on in the meeting and kind of how the proposed format would work. And I think it's a really good idea. Do you?
I do. I like the idea a lot. Are you a fan of European soccer at all?
I get the excitement of it. I'm not a huge soccer person myself, so it's hard for me to appreciate it all the time. But I think they're doing something right.
Okay. So this format is based off of it's called the World Cup format mostly from people, but it's based off of how that or the Champions League or most major soccer tournaments seed their teams. And it's based off of group stages in which there are smaller groups. They play each other, and then the top one or two, and then sometimes a wild card of teams within those groups gets seeded into the bigger bracket. It's done in the World Cup. It's done in the Olympics. It's done in the Champions League. It's very popular, and it's also very exciting. They try to stagger them somewhat, where the better teams don't end up all in the same group, but it still can happen because sometimes record isn't as indicative of which is the better team. But it's exciting to just see where the teams get seeded. I've watched the Champions League do a live lottery to see who gets seeded because it's that exciting, and I'm all for it. I mean,
if they chose to televise it, it would get tons of views because people are desperate for anything right now. Like Last Dance got a ton of views. Even like the golf match, which was literally just Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Tiger Woods, and
Phil Mickelson
golfing. It was just them golfing.
Yeah, match too.
Yeah, and so like anything that goes out would get a ton of views. So if this was like the first thing that they did, everyone would tune in. People tune into the draft lottery. You can make it into a show.
For sure. Definitely. I really want to see meaningful basketball played, and this is a good way to get more of the good teams to do that rather than just more regular season games. Another cool thing is that these count as playoff type games where the Bucks can go into this and get knocked out. They can be done for the season just off of this. And instead of a drawn out 7-game series against, say, the Magic or the Nets, they're only playing 2 games. So if the Nets steal one, it's 1-1, and then they have to move on because the proposed format is each team plays the other teams in their groups twice. So say the Nets steal a game, Bucks are 1-1. Then the Mavericks are in the group. The Mavericks could totally steal a game. The Bucks are 2-2, and then say they get swept by the Raptors. The Raptors could be in their group, or maybe not the Raptors because they're a 2 seed, but say
the Nuggets are in there or something.
The Nuggets, sure. The Nuggets sweep them. Suddenly, there you go. Bucks are out of the playoffs. It just feels more plausible that these upsets could happen, and I doubt they will, which is also good, but it's possible. And unlike no 8 seeds taking out a 1 seed in today's NBA, or especially today's Eastern Conference.
Yeah, and so the idea is that basically the first round with this like group stage would be 8 games. The way that I'm understanding it, because each team would play the other 4 twice.
Yeah, and it's 4 groups of 5.
Yeah, so 20 teams make it, which I also like. So then you basically get rid of the whole debate over in the West as to like should teams like the Blazers and the Pelicans and like the Spurs even travel to Orlando in the first place if that's where they
should
end up doing
Damian
it.
Lillard play?
Should Damian Lillard play? That's what everyone wants to know.
Especially
And
Dan
the Kings
Orlovsky.
technically would make the playoffs in this format, so that would end a long drought for them. That'd be fun.
Oh, I didn't even realize they were in a drought. I guess that
Oh, you
makes
didn't?
sense. No, I didn't know it was like a well-spoken thing. Like I assume like the Timberwolves one was a couple years ago.
Yeah, that one was, and now the Kings have taken over since then.
Okay. Huh. Then yeah, that would
I
be
don't
nice
think
for
the
them.
Kings have. I don't think the Kings have made it since like the mid 2000s.
That's tough.
I think they made it once post Chris Webber, and that's it.
Are there any other
So,
teams in like a big slump?
um, I don't think
When were the
Detroit's
Suns
gotten
in?
back. Or no, Detroit was in last year.
The Suns haven't been in since like what 2010 or something, 2011.
They haven't been.
I assume it's
Yeah,
been a
probably
while.
since. April 21st, 2020, longest active playoff droughts.
Here we go.
Phoenix Suns have not been in the playoffs for 10 years.
Yep, that sounds right.
The Kings,
Good old
14
Suns.
years.
And it's just and there's no hope for really either of them. It's amazing how neither of those not there's hope to make the playoffs maybe, but there's no real hope for them to be contenders anytime soon. Bad teams stay bad. Unless they get Giannis, and then the Bucks are the number 1 seed.
Yeah, because when Giannis's rookie year, they were the worst team in the league.
Yeah, the Bucks have been inept since well, now they're great, but before that, what the 80s were the last time they were relevant? It was a minute.
Yeah.
So, good for the Bucks, bad for the Suns, possibly good for the Kings. So from what I understand, they're taking the top is it 2 teams per group? Is that enough to seed the whole playoffs? No, that's not enough. That's not enough at all. That's 8 teams. They need to double that. Is it the top 4?
I'm not sure.
Because from how I understand, they need to seed 16 teams. So is it there? That means just the bottom one gets stripped out. 4 by 4,
so
16.
the top 4 make it out of this.
Yeah.
I guess.
And then, but the main purpose of this whole group stage, outside of just giving the Blazers, Pelicans, Spurs, and Kings another chance, is that it redetermines the seedings. Because we're missing all these regular season games. The Celtics could have chased down the Raptors. Realistically, Philly probably wouldn't have been a 6 seed. Things like that. Now, with this new system, you can seed them by how they did with their group stages, and then break the ties within the group stages by looking at their regular season record, and then seed them accordingly. Possibly without giving any regard to conference. Probably not giving any. I don't think it would be very fair to seed them by conference after putting them in groups that aren't in conference.
I don't know how they were going to do home court advantage either.
Well, it doesn't exist in Orlando.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, so it doesn't matter.
Everyone's neutral. It's
Except for the Magic, kind of.
if they had fans, yeah.
Well, I don't even know if they're playing on their own court. I don't think they don't play in Disney. They play at Amway Center in downtown Orlando.
Yeah, and it's really the fans that determine the advantage anyway, and there's no fans in the stadiums.
Yeah.
So it's going to be weird. It's going to be more like a March Madness-y vibe with the neutral courts.
Yeah, and just the idea that each game really does matter, because like if the Clippers don't beat the Kings, then I mean it wouldn't be missing the playoffs bad, but it would be like you'd be bumped down a few seeds either way. Like you just lose a lot of advantages going down the road, you know?
Now let's go really selfish with this. From a completely selfish standpoint, what are your priorities with this with whatever system they choose? What are your, like, if you know they have all these systems, whether they have complete the regular season, which isn't going to happen, or do some regular season and then do the World Cup thing, or just go straight into playoffs after a couple of games, or just go straight into playoffs. All these different, do the little play-in tournament for the couple seeds that are on the brink. What, from a completely selfish standpoint, what do you want to see? What are your priorities?
I mean, in general, I think my priorities are to see as many good teams as possible. So I think the group stage, the World Cup format, or just the top 16 seeds, kind of gets that done. I mean, the top 16 kind of does cut out some of those.
But I mean, even with, all right, so you want good teams. Everyone wants good teams. But like what, I'll give you an example. There's two things I want out of this. I want J.J. Redick to make the playoffs. That's my top priority right now. I want that streak to stay alive. For anyone who doesn't know, J.J. Redick has never missed the playoffs, which is absurd. And that streak could end right now with the Pelicans. They're a couple games out.
This is what you mean. Okay.
Yeah. So I want J.J. Redick to have a real shot to make it. And I also want whatever bracket we end up with, the Celtics and the Bucks to be on the opposite side. Because I think the Bucks are the Celtics' worst matchup. Celtics are my team. And I'd rather them play the Clippers in a series. I'd rather them play the Lakers in a series. I don't want anything to do with the Bucks because we don't have a soul who can guard Giannis. All right, the Lakers are a bad matchup too, but like they just have no depth. So I feel like we have a chance. The Bucks, it's just we don't have anyone to guard Giannis, so it's just game over for us.
The Lakers do have playoff Rondo though.
Yeah.
I don't know what Orlando Rondo is.
I don't know.
But playoff Rondo is a different animal.
I don't know if you remember, I think it was 3 to 4 years ago.
The Bulls?
Yeah, the Bulls. And they took an injury to save us because...
Yeah, what did that go to, 6 games? 7?
It went 6 games. They won the first 2, then we won the next 4.
Yeah, that was the weird Dwayne Wade Bulls.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't want anything to do with Rondo. So,
okay, a selfish thing for me then. I want the Sixers to get completely screwed over.
Okay.
I want if they do groups, I want them to be in the hardest group. If they do conference lists, I want them to have if they did conference lists, we would face them in the first round, which is kind of gets that done. I just hope I think they're pretty much the Celtics' rival at this point.
Yeah, I've been thinking about recently playing the Sixers, how right now we're set up to play them in the first round. And at first I didn't want it because I thought, why? We're the 3 seed. We shouldn't have to play Philly in the first round. It doesn't make any sense. But I embrace it because I know that outside of Kemba Walker, every other player on our team can guard Ben Simmons. And I just want to see it. I just want to see Tatum, Brown, even Smart. Like, I just want to see someone put the clamps on Ben Simmons because Philly fans hype him way too much. And I know what's happening once that man hits the playoffs. Embiid, a monster. He's going to crush us. But that's fine because we'll put the clamps on everyone else. We'll get the win. And Ben Simmons will look like a fool. Sorry, Ben, but... People on Twitter have kind of been going after us, so they're not really helping their Sixers case. They're not making them a more likable team to cheer for. No, it's all the fans, man. Philly Twitter, get out of here. We're going to lock down your guy. We're going to take down your fake point guard who can't shoot. We're going to make it to the next round. And you're going to have to go back into rebuilding. Continue the process. Calling you out. So that's one of my preferences. I also want the Lakers to have a tough time just because. It would be more entertaining, and I don't want to see any sweeps. Basically, no sweeps. Okay, did you see all the way down to the Magic stealing a game against the Raptors last year? I just want one. Did you see the end of Game of Zones? I did. Did you saw the Sam Hinkie part where he goes? He was tied up. Yeah, and how many rings did we get with Tatum, Simmons, and Embiid? Yeah. And man, they were one correct draft pick from completing the process. One pick, and they picked Markelle Fultz. Yeah. Was Hinkie gone by then? Yeah, he was out. Okay. He might have been, I don't even know if he drafted, I think he was out before Simmons even got to play. So Fultz then was their first pick without Hinkie. No, there was a year, or maybe, that might be right. It was Brian Colangelo. But I'm trying to remember because Brian Colangelo took over for Hinkie. Colangelo might have picked Simmons. I think he might have picked Simmons. And then... Well, it might have been Hinkie because Simmons sat out a year. Yeah, but then I think Colangelo was out by the time they were drafting
Oh, that's right, because Colangelo's not there anymore either.
No, he's been out for a while now. He got exposed by again at the Ringer for his burner accounts, and
Yeah, his burner ravens, as they say in Game of Thrones.
yeah, so it's tough. I miss. See, I have mixed feelings about Hinkie because he did. I don't. I think he should have a job because I think he was a genius. I don't agree with his tactics, but it's the kind of tactics that like, until they make a rule to fix it, you have every right to exploit it.
Yeah, I mean, and they kind of did fix it because of him,
Yeah,
or they tried to,
yeah,
but
barely. You still have the Knicks. Speaking
yeah.
of, no Knicks playoffs. Still, we had 4 extra teams, and the Knicks still aren't close.
Oh no, the Wizards were the next closest in the
Hmm.
East, and they were starting Isaac Bonga this year, so there was no business of any Eastern Conference team sneaking in, no matter what the bracket.
Yeah,
Because like honestly, there's a huge like you can shit on the Magic and the Nets as much as you want. Like they at least have a full roster with NBA talent, whereas like a lot of those lower Eastern Conference teams are like 3 or 4 decent players and then a bunch of G leaguers that they signed because they gave up on the year.
yeah.
So,
It's
so
just the Knicks.
you don't want to see them anywhere
fully
near the
reloaded
playoffs.
with just nothing. Fully reloaded with a weird roster that didn't make any sense.
The weird thing about the Knicks is that they have more like legitimate NBA players than most of those bottom seed teams. I mean, given they're older, like, but when you look at their roster, like they're all recognizable names,
Hmm.
which is uncharacteristic of a team that low, which is kind of why I thought they were going to be better this year because like you went down the list and it was like, oh, Marcus Morris and Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, even down at the bottom, like Wayne Ellington and Reggie Bullock. It's just like, yeah, these are all guys that deserve to be in the league. There was no one surprising.
Yeah,
Whereas like some of those like the Wizards and the Hawks and those other like lower seed teams, you'd get down to the bottom of their roster and you just find like guys that you've never heard of before.
yeah.
So that's why they kind of surprised me at how bad they were. Maybe that's why they fired Fizdale in the first place. Was like, we at least gave you this mediocre roster. You should be better than like close to last place.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. Is our team's so bad? Let's use it, or like our team's so hopeless. It's so lacking in talent. Let's just build a roster to evaluate the coach.
Yeah, it was just like because like all of their they never paid anyone too much, and they don't really have anyone on really minimum deals. They all got like everyone on their team was making between like 5 and 10 million, like
Hmm.
Ennis Cantor money,
Yeah,
and they were just like, look, all these guys are here. They're legit NBA players. Either it works and you're here, or we fire you and we trade everyone.
hmm,
And it looks like they compromised and fired them and then traded like 1 or 2 of them and just sat there.
yeah,
But all right, that's enough on the Knicks.
yeah. Please.
We're talking about the playoffs. So,
Yeah. Two very different conversations.
yeah.
So let's look at here's some matchups that they have if they went conferenceless. So this is just if there was no play-in tournament, they cut it off,
Yeah, they
but
did
then
1 through 16.
they seeded it. So what's the most interesting matchup you see here?
Um, I think Jazz Rockets is great. Sixers Celtics and Clippers Mavs. Those are my top 3.
I kind of love and hate that the Rockets will be knocking out the Jazz again.
I don't think that would happen.
Really? That's
If Rudy Gobert doesn't average like a triple double with
Well,
blocks in that series, he should be off the team. Like,
That's my thing is Rudy Gobert is going to be able to he's just so bad on offense. Like so bad that I just don't know if he can take advantage of the
but he's still like
size.
7-1. He should be able to do something.
I take the Rockets for sure in that series. I think it's a bad matchup for the Jazz altogether. I think they're going to shoot their lights out and they can't defend that. The Jazz just don't have the personnel.
Well, I mean, everyone except Gobert is a wing. They play Bogdanovich at like the 4.
Yeah,
And they have like Joe Ingles. They basically run all perimeter guys and then Gobert.
but they're not a great defensive team in general. outside of
They were, I think, but
yeah, well,
not this year, maybe
yeah,
as much.
Individually,
Yeah, okay.
but
Like Mike Conley's always been like a system defender, but he's not
yeah,
going to steal the ball from you.
yeah, and in the Rockets, you need certain guys who can step up and like I feel like who's guarding Harden? Like he's just gonna abuse someone. I just don't know who gets that assignment.
Yeah.
And then
Well, I was watching. You know what came up today was the anniversary of 27 missed threes.
oh jeez,
And I watched the full, I believe it was Instagram TV. I watched the whole video. It was a lot of Harden and a lot of Eric Gordon. It was
yeah,
mostly their fault.
yeah,
And
miserable.
it
Man.
was pretty ugly. Just like a lot of it was like it was like 50-50 open shots. It's like okay, whatever. And the other half would be like pull-ups right in Kevin Durant's face. It's like your offense has to have a little bit more structure to it than dribble pull-ups. I mean, like Harden is gifted in that, like he can kind of just throw it over someone's hand. It looks like he doesn't even know, like see the ball when it's going.
Yeah,
And he makes it a lot of the time. But it's just for a coach that praises offensive efficiency and stuff. They take a lot of terrible shots, and I feel like a team like the Jazz could make them pay for that because they're such like a systematic kind of slower team.
there are some calls they should have gotten that game though. I think they were hunting for calls because they had been getting them early. If I remember that series, and they were getting calls earlier in the series, and the refs kind of just stopped giving them to them, and it was a really bad time for the refs.
Well, in like the
stop.
third quarter, they were up like 15.
Yeah. No, it was they shot
So
themselves out of it.
they had no excuse to lose that game. They were winning the first half.
For sure. It's just the refs. It was, again, whether it was consistency in the series or consistency across the season, I think the offense kind of broke down once Harden really, because that was the first year that Harden went full on, I'm just going to chase these fouls because nobody knows what to do about it. Now he's had to adjust a little bit more and not just blatantly chase them. But back then, a lot of refs were calling every single one of those. So he figured, let's just do it again because it works. And then they stopped, and then they lost.
We have a comment from Ace Dalton. He said, "Kings rock."
The Kings, they rock at getting robbed from their few playoff series in the early 2000s.
Hey, I love the Kings. I'm rooting for that team because I really like their core, and the only problem I have with Sacramento is
Firing a great coach.
Firing a great coach, and all that runs with continuing to provide Vlade Divac a job.
Yeah,
because he should not be a general manager in this league.
Yeah,
and
tough.
Like Luke Walton was benching Buddy Hield at the end of the season, so they kind of threw themselves into a mess. But you know, I would like to see them in the playoffs just because Fox was injured a lot, Bagley was injured. I think they have a good core. I think they're very Grizzlies-like if you gave them a chance.
Yeah.
They just need to gel together a little bit. But
they
anyways,
looked so promising last year.
You like the Jazz Rockets series. I think the Mavs would give the Clippers a lot of trouble.
Really? See, a hot take. I see like a sweep. Maybe 4-1 for that series. I think that's one of those that like the Clippers are just so much like the Mavs. They have a lot of weapons. They have really, Porzingis and Luka, but the Clippers are just such a more complete team. It would be like no blowouts, 4 close wins, because the Clippers are both talented and clutch.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that the talent gap isn't that big, but the Clippers are just going to take care of business. That's how I see it, at least.
It would be a big Luka moment, because it's only his second year, and it would be their first time in the playoffs with this structure.
That's the way I see it.
And it would be Porzingis' first time in the playoffs, too. So...
Nice.
I mean, they just... I like the way that they're built, and I think they're really deep.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think it could be a sweep just because there are games where the Mavericks don't miss.
Yeah, and there are also games where the Clippers don't show up. So
yeah,
I could see 4-1.
I was kind of surprised that they were a 4 seed, and then I kind of looked back and I was like, oh yeah, like whenever Paul George played, Kawhi didn't, vice versa.
Yeah, I could see 4-1, but between the talent gap and the experience gap, it just seems like a foregone. Like the Mavs aren't going to look like any kind of threat to keep the series close.
Yeah.
That's.
I don't think the Mavs could win it. I just think it would be personally one of my favorites.
And what's the third one?
Celtics Sixers, but we did that already. Heat Thunder would be pretty good.
That's the one I like.
I still don't know how the Thunder got this high. Their roster is pretty garbage, but I mean, maybe Billy Donovan is coach of the year. Who knows? But there's something about that Thunder team that I just do not believe in. Versus this Heat team, which is
what about
like,
just Chris Paul in the playoffs?
I mean, so we know that they're not getting too far, but
yeah, that's true. He's good at getting out of the first round usually.
Yeah, but I think the Heat team would actually. I think the Heat could handle the Thunder more than the Clippers could handle the Mavs. Like, I think the Mavs Clippers series would be closer than a Heat Thunder series.
Interesting. I mean, the Heat have that again. They're similar teams where it's a lot of young guys. Well, the Thunder aren't that young. It's a decent amount of young guys with one guy who has a lot of experience, and then the Heat have a bunch of young guys, and then Jimmy Butler, who's been there before in certain scenarios.
Yeah,
he made it, with the Sixers, and then
I think that
got the Timberwolves to the playoffs.
The Thunder have like their three guards. They have Schroeder, SGA, and Chris Paul. And then they have Gallo and Steven Adams, and then literally nothing. Like, they're pretty much a five-man team.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, can you even name, like, the sixth person that would be in that rotation?
I feel like I should. I've been away from basketball too long.
I mean, one of them starts because Schroeder came off the bench.
Yeah, who else?
It was Terrence Ferguson.
Okay.
Was starting, and he's just like, he just dunks. That's all he does.
Yeah, I know who he is, which is a plus. But yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure his backup is Abdel Nader.
Really?
The Celtics.
Yeah, I didn't know he was still in the league.
Yeah, instead of waiving him, we traded him to the Thunder for like literally nothing, because Danny liked him and wanted to make sure that he still had a spot in the league.
Good for Nader.
Yeah, so he's still over there. He's, I believe. Yeah, he's pretty much their backup three. They have some other guys because it would be Andre Roberson, but he keeps getting injured.
That's it. Yeah. So is he's hurt again right now?
He's missed 2 seasons in a row. Yeah.
I just assumed he came back. I remember when he got hurt, and that I think hurt them a lot in their playoff match. That was back with the Melo Paul George 3, right? When he got hurt.
I believe so,
because
they
looked good for a good stretch of the regular season. They looked really good with Melo, Paul George, Westbrook, Roberson, and Adams. And then Roberson went down, and the team was never the same.
Yeah, because I think they had to start like Ferguson, or I think they might have had Dion Waiters for a little bit, and it just kind of all blew up. Because they had before that they had Oladipo, and that didn't work either. But I don't know. I just don't think. Like, the Heat are the absolute opposite of the Thunder. They're young and deep, while the Thunder are old and shallow.
Yeah.
So, I think that Bucks and Magic, whatever, Lakers, Nets, whatever, unless, I mean, the Kyrie intrigue would kind of be cool, but he might not even play.
He won't play because he's a coward.
Yeah. Raptors, Grizzlies would be cool for, like, a game or two.
Yeah, Ja
in the playoffs and JJJ. But... we'll get into the Raptors a little bit more later on, but
Pacers Nuggets, that's the biggest upset potential in the whole bracket.
I would ignore that series at all costs. I think that would be so boring.
It would be boring. No star power, really, but...
Well, no, there's star power, but it's like the most boring kind of star power. It's like Jokic and Murray, who are like, all right, cool, and then Oladipo and Sabonis, who are like kind of a lesser mirror of both of those. And it's just like such a bland play style of just two really, really solid teams.
Yeah.
So they probably all close games, and
it's kind of like the Spurs. Who did the Spurs take to 7 games? Was that the Nuggets? The Spurs
the Grizzlies.
The Spurs. No, like last
which
season.
year?
Just last season. I think it was
Oh.
Spurs Nuggets went 7 games
Yeah.
last year. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
it
like
was.
that, and then the Nuggets went 7 with the Trailblazers after that. So that
The Pacers
definitely,
with this team, like this construction of them, have been crazy in the playoffs
yeah.
because
And
they
then
almost beat LeBron's Cavs in the first round 2 years ago, and then
last
last
year
year
they got
Oladipo
swept.
was injured, so yeah. But
People thought they were going to do a lot better, and Celtics just took care of business. But
yeah,
I
well,
want to see
they didn't have
Brogdon.
Oladipo. I
They
think they
did,
were
now they have
starting.
Brogdon too. Brogdon's been playing
Yeah,
great.
Brogdon's a Celtics killer too.
Yeah. So, like Pacers quietly have like run potential. They could make the semifinals with the way it's set up right now. They're playing the Nuggets and they're playing the Raptors, and all you need is like one guy to really like Oladipo to become old Oladipo, like the Oladipo we knew early last season, and they could win both those series realistically.
Yeah, he's only one season removed from being like a B-list All-Star. Like
Yeah,
he's definitely up there. I mean, I'd say in like the Raptors series, he'd probably be the second best player,
yeah, I'd say so. And
and
then
they would have a pretty good. I mean, like matchup wise, you'd have a pretty good. Like I think Brogdon could handle Kyle Lowry. Oladipo would torch Van Vliet. I'd take Warren over Anunoby.
yeah,
I mean, Siakam is the best player in the series, and then like Miles Turner is basically just a younger Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol kind of guy.
hmm
So like they add up pretty well.
Pacers could make a run until they get thumped by the Lakers. But
That
another
would be a terrible series. But
another yeah, just they thought LeBron had left the East. They thought they didn't have to deal with him anymore, and
and
that's
the
what
next time they make, he's back.
I think I'd be rooting for the Raptors to make the semifinals just for that. Just for
Raptors facing LeBron again.
yeah.
Their title defense comes against LeBron.
Oh man. And then
Don't you keep forgetting that they're technically the reigning champions this year?
it's hard to remember because they lost their best player and also the team that won wasn't that impressive. So it's like yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
They're definitely
Should we transition to our Raptor talk?
Yeah, we could go Raptors.
Well, we're only in 32 minutes. If you had any other notes on the conference list playoff bracket, I think we did the World Cup pretty
Yeah.
thoroughly because it's all theoretical and it's random.
I just think
there's
that
only so much to do there, but
that bottom right, Raptors, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Pacers is so interesting. I mean, Grizzlies, yeah, you can kind of count them out, but then Nuggets, Raptors would be an interesting series. I know they're boring in terms of star power, but you say you want these competitive series. Nuggets, Raptors is a great series. Like
yeah,
that is back and forth.
Looking at this bracket, if you went to the second round, if like the higher seeds won, you'd have Bucks, Heat, Clippers, Celtics. I don't like that.
No.
Lakers, I mean Jazz or Rockets. That's a toss up. And then Nuggets, Raptors.
So I'm a huge Brad Stevens fan. I have been since his.
I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, big Brad Stevens, and I say that as someone who's also on the record as not a huge Doc Rivers fan. Like it's not like I just love every coach we get, but I've really loved Brad Stevens. And if the Celtics took out the Clippers, you would never hear the end of my Doc Rivers trash talk. Like that would be the final.
What's wrong with him? Like,
there's nothing. I love the guy. He's a good guy, but I think he's so overrated as a coach. Like, and I'm sure every player in the league would be like.
I think last year's Clippers run would like prove against that.
They've had a good run, but then it only got so it's like great. They made the 8 seed, right? And like
yeah, and then they like played the Warriors well.
Yeah, all right. He's
and
not
he
a bad
maximized
coach.
Guys like he maximized guys like Beverly and Gallinari. He developed Montrezl Harrell into like a really good player. He used Lou Williams, who was older, better than he had ever been used before.
Maybe he can develop
he
players,
still has it.
But I think to an extent, actually, I was gonna say I think Brett Brown can too, but I wouldn't take Brett Brown to develop my team. I think in game and just preparing his teams for matchups is not his strong suit in quite a few ways.
it's a pretty abstract thing to call him out on.
It's important, but that defines playoff success. Like there's so many. I just watching the Celtics and seeing them just feel not prepared for certain matchups. Versus you can see other coaches like that make these big adjustments. That like Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse changed the Rockets in just little ways to make them better. That got them to shut down Giannis. That got them to, and Coach Bud couldn't adapt to it.
You mean, hang on, Nick Nurse and the Raptors.
Yeah, Nick Nurse got the Raptors in the right place to shut down Giannis last year, which is a big deal. And then he got them.
And he also developed all those players as well.
Yeah. And it's just, that's what I mean by that in-game thing. You look through the greatest coaches, and they're able to make these little matchup adjustments and come up with game plans and schemes that maximize their players. Coach Bud's also great, where he built this perfect system for Giannis. He fell short when the Raptors countered it, but outside of that, the system for Giannis before that got them to a 7 seed. 7 to 1 seed, it took the right roster changes as well as scheme change. And Doc Rivers, he's good at developing players, and he's good with chemistry, and he's a good coach. But I think Brad Stevens, next level.
Is this all fueled behind your assertion that the Lob City Clippers should have won a championship?
And the fact between the Big Three Celtics and the Lob City Clippers, 2 finals appearances and 1 win is just, it's not enough for me. That's too much talent for 2 finals appearances and 1 win.
Yeah, I can see that. I just think in retrospect, maybe he's better with like kind of an underdog team like that.
I totally can see that. Well, I guess we'll find out this playoffs.
Yeah. But I would hate to see the Clippers in the second round.
Yeah.
If I'm the Celtics or the Sixers, like...
I'd take them over I'd rather play the Clippers than... I think we match up better than the Bucks or the Lakers. So I'd prefer them to either of those teams.
Yeah, because I do think Kawhi and George are similar to, like... I mean, they're
Tatum
both better, but I think just... playing style and just like the fear of domination, you would at least give Brown and Tatum a fair fight against them,
Yeah, and then we got Kemba, and we got Kemba and Hayward, so it's like that counteract. We can spread it out more. We don't have to just And then
I really wanted to see playoff Hayward this year.
Tice could actually stand a chance. Like Zubac is not going to get that many playoff minutes, and then. Tice can actually stand a chance against what's his face?
Harrell.
Montrezl Harrell.
Him and Harrell is just more aggressive Tice, but Tice has the jump shot.
Yeah, so
They're otherwise very similar, like small centers.
That's a good series for us compared to Davis and JaVale and LeBron just dunking all over us. And
Before
Dwight Howard.
Did you just put JaVale?
Okay, I'm just talking about the height. They just got tall guys.
Also, like, who is their third best player? Is it JaVale?
I think it's Dwight over JaVale. Dwight Howard?
It's not Kuzma, is it?
No, not this season. It would have been, but
Isn't that disappointing? I don't think a team whose third best player is JaVale McGee can win a championship.
Again, I think it's Dwight Howard personally, but if the fact that JaVale's even in the conversation.
Dwight Howard?
Yeah, I take him over JaVale McGee. Just he's been good this season, like legitimately, not like what he used to be, and not like a D Rose type of good, where it's like we can use this guy. We want him on our team. He can get good minutes. We don't want to trade him, but we're also not making him a franchise guy.
Did you see the different trade packages that they put together for Derrick Rose this year?
No,
they released like what they actually were.
The Lakers
or the Pistons did. They
tried to get rid of him.
The Pistons were like, if we get a good enough offer, we'll get rid of D Rose.
Yeah. So who?
Apparently, their first offer was Caruso and a pick, which they tore down pretty fast.
That's tough.
They then apparently the Lakers came up with, or were then considering getting rid of Kuzma and Quinn Cook for like 1 year of Derrick Rose.
Why is Quinn Cook even in the conversation? Can he play? I thought
He
I've
was
been
on
out
the
on him.
Warriors. He was fine. He's a good
All right.
backup-ish point. He
Yeah.
was there when Livingston wasn't. I mean, he's
Yeah.
fine.
All right.
Um, you watched him torch Syracuse a few times.
I've never seen him do anything in the NBA. It always feels like you're just waiting for him to get off the floor.
Yeah. Well, so apparently they were throwing Kuzma around, and that just solidified that the LeBron theme of go to a team, tear apart all of its young assets for 2-year rental guys on
Yeah.
minimum deals, and then leave the team in a mess after you're done.
I know this is a crazy hot take, but maybe LeBron should not be a general manager while he's also a player. Crazy idea.
That is a hot take. well, that if he wasn't, James Jones wouldn't have as many rings as he does.
Yeah, well, whatever. I just
They were trying to force that angle with James Jones as when he became the general manager of the Suns. They're just like, oh, so I guess the Lakers are going to get anyone they want from the Suns now. They'll probably trade Booker for Caruso just because James Jones is going to thank him for his rings.
Yeah.
But all right, so are we good with this bracket? You've gone through pretty much everything.
Yeah, I think we're ready to talk about the biggest surprise defending champ, underrated thing that is the Raptors.
Yeah, I think you can't just like an overlooked story in general this year has been, or especially now that they're trying to ramp up playoff talk and all that kind of stuff, is the strange response and rebound that the Raptors have had this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so the immediate reaction last summer after Kawhi left and everyone was like, all right, we're fine with it, he got a ring. All the Raptor fans were like, all right, now what are we going to do? How do we replace him and Danny Green?
And the answer is do nothing.
The answer was Stanley Johnson, Rondé Hollis Jefferson, and some undrafted rookies. That was their answer.
And did they get was Hollis Jefferson, was that a trade?
He was a free agent. He was on the Nets his whole career, and he's good. I mean, he's kind of their sixth man at this point. But basically, so Kawhi and Danny Green leave, and they said, "Oh, well, we need a new shooting guard and small forward for our defending champion starting lineup. I know. Let's play the 6-foot Fred VanVleet at the 2, and OG Anunoby. Let's just make him the starter. What the hell, you know?"
Yeah.
And then who's going to be his backup? I don't know. Let's sign Stanley Johnson to a minimum deal after he didn't work out as a lottery pick, and Holy Cross's own Malcolm Miller. He'll be the third stringer.
Oh, is that where
good?
he went?
Yeah, Malcolm Miller graduated from Holy Cross in 2015, I believe.
And he graduated.
It's
It's not common with our athletes. They actually graduate.
Yeah, he was a 4-year guy.
Look at that.
He was the one that we had during the CJ McCollum years. So no one really cared about him in hindsight because McCollum was running the Patriot League. But he was our guy back then.
Cool.
And so he was undrafted, went into their G League system, and he was their first two-way player when they did that 2 years ago. They started that system, and he's been on the team ever since. He's a good 3-and-D guy, 6'7" small forward.
All right.
But when those type of guys are getting valuable minutes on your team, you don't usually look at that roster and say, "Oh yeah, look, NBA champions."
No.
But miraculously, out of all the teams in the league, they had the third best record in the league this year.
I mean, they have a 3-time champion in Patrick McCaw. They've got the experience, the pedigree.
That's true. They have the championship blood in their locker room.
Yeah. So
this roster is pretty miraculous in that. I mean, it's still a good roster, but it's depleted as compared to what it was last year.
They really seemed not unbeatable, but they were going. I think they won 15 straight this year, which was crazy, and I watched as a Celtics fan trying to catch them. They were impossible to catch. They just kept winning and winning and winning. They found a way to win, and it's like a winning machine that Nick Nurse has built here at Toronto. It's absurd. They've made him their Olympic coach, even though he's not Canadian, which is funny to me.
Oh yeah, no, that's just how much the country of Canada loves Nick Nurse at this point.
Yeah,
and that's also the thing about the Raptors is that they are not only the team of a city, but the team of a country.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace, Vancouver Grizzlies. And I mean, there's been just a lot of it's been a really positive championship run. Like the Raptor fans are just they're super loud, they're super into it, they're super intelligent, and they're like, when was the last time you saw an annoying Raptor fan on Twitter? Never.
Drake.
Well, yeah.
It's just
okay,
Drake.
Fine. Yeah, he just encompasses all of it. Fine. The one good thing about Drake on that team is that he brought the alternate colorway that he got them to do for somehow, but it looks awesome. The OVO jerseys.
Yeah. Well, does he have a stake in the team? Some ownership stake?
He is. He's a partial owner and a global ambassador.
Yeah.
So like all he has to do is go around and be all Raptors all the time.
Yeah.
Which isn't very hard for him to do.
Let's break down the top five, or starting five.
Sure.
We've got the mainstay, Kyle Lowry, holding down the fort at point guard.
People saying he's fans say that he's the greatest Raptor of all time.
Probably. Like, weirdly.
Yeah, because like you think about the best players to wear a Raptor jersey would be Kawhi, Vince Carter,
DeRozan even.
DeRozan and like T-Mac and Bosch,
Yeah.
The only one that's been consistently winning is Lowry.
Yeah.
He's had the most playoff moments and all kinds of stuff. So he might deserve that title.
It's tough. Yeah, it's weird. I think maybe one more contending team, and I'd give it to him.
I think he already has it, though, because Vince Carter left on bad terms, and they loved DeRozan, and he was kind of the all-star over Lowry while he was there, but they always, they were never able to get over the hump.
Yeah.
Named LeBron James usually, but I think Lowry probably gets it.
I want to see an alternate future that without blood clots, Chris Bosh leaves the Heat, goes back to the Raptors, leads them over the Cavaliers, and then beats the Warriors.
That would have been... Imagine their big man lineup, their rotation of Bosh, Siakam, Gasol, and Ibaka. That would have been crazy.
Yeah. Just no... It's been like Philly now.
There's so much length.
Yeah.
In that rotation. But and then you still have like Kawhi and stuff too. But so they start Van Vliet as well most games.
Yep, at the 2.
And he is like, this is like the smallest backcourt ever.
Mm-hmm.
And it works.
I'm gonna go out and just admit I did not know who Fred VanVleet was until last season. Like no clue who this guy was. And then the Raptors were relevant last season. Yeah, I just didn't know the guy's name, but he's not brand new. He's not, but I just flew completely under the radar and then was a hero in the postseason.
I think last year was like his second year in the league. Mm-hmm. I think so. He came out pretty fast. Second or third?
Yeah, I again couldn't tell you. Didn't know him.
When they don't start him, they do start Norman Powell every once in a while, who's a bigger 2-guard, more traditionally sized, 3-and-D kind of guy, and he's decent.
And this is cool because these guys are all homegrown, right? The 3 we've mentioned,
Van Vliet,
or I guess not Lowry altogether, but he became what he was.
Basically, pretty much everyone on this team that isn't Lowry, Gasol, and Ibaka has come up through this organization all the way through.
That's crazy.
Which just goes to show how good they are at development and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But so then OG.
Yep. Which honestly probably shouldn't be a starter, but good
Whatever.
for him.
Yeah, I mean he does his job. I mean he's a great defender, and then he doesn't do much else.
Yeah, it's weird because I did know who that guy was. Pretty much, I think since he was drafted, right?
He was I think he was a mid first round pick. Yeah, and he went to, I forget what school he went to, but he was I think he was a good college player. Where did he go? He went to Indiana, and he was good there.
Yeah. So there's Anunoby.
So OG, and then they have Siakam, second round pick out of Cameroon,
just a beast.
And he won Most Improved Player last year.
These guys are all young too. OG, Siakam, Van Fleet. Like that's a like, it's weird because two of them aren't actually that good, but that's a solid three. Like I would be excited to have those. That was like I don't know a good compare. That's like our Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Terry Rozier. Rest in peace.
Yeah, it somehow like seems worse on paper, but they do better in the standings.
Yeah, how did we get the higher draft picks and they won the title? Because we couldn't trade for Davis. That's why.
But so OG's 22, Pascal's 26. Because I think he did more years in college. He went to New Mexico State. He was the 27th pick, so late first round.
Okay, New Mexico State. I don't know anything about them. I think I know their logo, but barely.
They're
it's like some robber bandit type thing, right?
Yeah, they're the. It's not the Aggies, are they?
I don't know. Again, I mean, I don't know much about New Mexico State. I'll look it up. I'll look it up.
I will find out who they are.
They are the mascot's named Pixel. The Aggies. You're right. The Aggies.
Yeah, they're the Aggies. Their mascot is Pistol Pete.
Yep.
They're independent.
Oh, okay.
For football.
Yeah,
they're in the Western Athletic for basketball.
So back to Siakam. What is Spicy P's ceiling? Like where do you see him? Because he's on an upward trajectory. I don't think he's peaked quite yet. If he has, then that is a very quick peak.
Yeah, he came into the league at 22 years old, and he averaged 4 points a game. Second year in the league, he played 20 minutes and averaged 7 points a game. He was their backup. And then last year, he exploded to 17 points a game. Who did they get rid of to clear up his starting spot? Was it Patterson? I believe. I think he was the starter for a while. Or Amir Johnson. Some of those guys.
Sounds right. Something like that. Yeah, I don't know if it was anyone. Well, I'd have to check what their starting lineup was because it was weird. Like, was Danny who replaced
Danny Green was only there
Van
for
Fleet
a year.
Replaced Danny Green, and then
OG replaced
Kawhi. You sure he didn't start last year?
Oh no, he did. I'm talking about before that. Like when he won Most Improved Player, where did those minutes come from? And I think they got rid of I believe it was Patrick Patterson who was starting for a lot of the time.
I can check. Oh, you know who it was?
Who?
It was well, actually, never mind. I was going to say Valanciunas, but he would have replaced got replaced by Marc Gasol, right?
He was traded from Marc Gasol.
Yeah, so that's not.
He was in the package. Here, so the 17-18 Raptors. They had Ibaka.
Oh, so then they played Ibaka and Valanciunas at the same time.
Yeah, that's probably what happened.
Yeah, that's weird.
And then Ibaka moved to the bench, and then Siakam started.
Got it.
So it was a pretty organic move, I guess. So anyways.
They're not afraid to play with little size. They're not.
Yeah, no,
they were in no hurry to just go small. Well, then again, their shooting guard's 6 feet tall. So what am I saying?
yeah, but like Gasol and like Ibaka were really good in the finals last year.
Yeah.
Gasol less so because he's kind of stopped scoring as much, but he's still super useful in every other way.
He was better in the Bucks series.
Yeah, because they had him on Giannis a little bit, and then him and Brook Lopez are really really similar at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But so Siakam this year, 24 points a game, 7.5 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, and a steal as well.
So what's his ceiling in terms of honors? Do you see All NBA second team? What's his peak? What do you see him getting to?
I think he could definitely do that. Because I guess what other power forwards would be ahead of him? I guess if Anthony Davis convinces himself.
They go by 3 forwards is how they vote. They vote 3 forwards and 2 guards.
That's right.
So can he be a top 6 forward, which would be like, that's between the Tatums of the world and the I'm trying to think of like smaller wing type guys.
I mean,
my first thought was Ben Simmons, but he's a guard.
He'd have to see guys like LeBron go down,
Yeah.
And then he'd have to beat out like Paul George and Kawhi
and Giannis, but he's not going to beat out Giannis. So
yeah, so he'll be behind Giannis, so that would leave him to like the second team. I think he has a good shot at it. Yeah.
Right.
I think his career wise, he's pretty unique, honestly, and just like the way that he's kind of a point forward, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the finals with you last year, and he just has like the coolest like finishing in the paint for a big man.
Yeah,
like he has guard.
Quick.
He does guard layups.
He's so fast.
Which is he doesn't dunk on people. Like he's not a power like LeBron guy.
Yeah.
And he's not a finesse shooter like KD. He's almost like a little Giannis. Just because of like when he drives. He like does a lot of like spin moves and Euro steps like a guard would.
Yeah.
I could see him. Yeah, I think he's just like I think he's just like Blake Griffin, but a better offensive player, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, but not the presence on the floor of Blake Griffin, but because that's the thing that Kawhi and him both kind of have in common, where they get like the sneaky 25 points, 30 points. They're not like I am the focal point. I am the presence here. Look at me go.
There was a streak of that finals when he was though.
Mm-hmm.
Like he went on run. He was, he's kind of like a more talented Draymond Green at this point, offensively, like body type and tendencies.
Interesting. Yeah.
But he was running them out of the gym. Like none of the big Draymond and them could not catch up to him on like the fast breaks and stuff. Half of his points just came from fast break layups and stuff.
Spicy P's got the moves.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's a good guy to invest in. And then Gasol and Ibaka are at this point placeholders because that's where most of their age is. Mm-hmm. And I think, and it's also where a lot of their money is right now too.
Is it really?
Well, Ibaka and Gasol both make decent money. Yeah, pretty much all of the one thing about their team, the way that it's structured, is that because they have all these young guys that are still basically on rookie deals. I think Siakam just signed an extension, but it's like Lowry, Ibaka, and Gasol were like the only ones making above like 10 million this year. Everyone else was just on an extension of a rookie deal.
Word. So okay, so then that leads us into what's their next move? What's their move if they want to get back into real championship contention?
I think Lowry has to take a pay cut, and they need to. I think they would have to get rid of like the OGs and the Norman Powells and trade for another guy that's on the same like career trajectory as a Siakam to kind of be a big two when Lowry starts to fade out.
Hmm.
Um, that could be a Beal, um, could be a Booker. Just
Okay.
like I
Booker,
think
I like both
they
of
could
those. That's
at
funny.
at this point they could like because they're benching them, they're so like expendable in a
Yeah.
weird way. Like I feel like if you just packaged enough people together and we're just like we're all in on Siakam and X leading this team, and then Lowry's old with one of Gasol and Ibaka both taking pay cuts to be our veterans, they could be right back in it.
I like Booker and Beal, but especially Booker for some reason on that team. I think Booker's a
I don't know
pretty.
what you could package up to pry him away, but it'd
You'd
have to
have
be
to
something
just
pretty sweet.
convince the Suns that they have no hope and he's going to leave in free agency. I don't know if he signed
It
an.
would have to be yeah, it would have to be like it would have to be it would have to look like a 1 year rental,
Yeah,
and then they keep him like the reverse of what the Paul George deal was.
it would be like the Kawhi deal.
Yeah,
Like,
but then he re-signs hopefully,
yeah, hopefully, but who knows?
and then you just throw all your money at Siakam and this one other guy.
Hmm.
Interesting thing is that Van Vliet's a free agent this summer. Um, so
I don't even know, like, his. Call me biased, but his height, like, I'd want to get rid of. I'd want to try to flip him for whatever value I can get for him.
I think he'll get like Terry Rozier money this summer.
Really, that much?
I mean, I'd take him over Terry Rozier. So
That's true, but Terry Rozier has this like thing to him where he just seems like less of a role player versus Van Vliet feels like a role player.
I agree, but I feel like it would just take one season of him being like an okay starter, and that's just what he would be.
Hmm.
He's gonna be this next evolution of like the Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, Terry Rozier guys. That's like I was a backup on a really good team for too long. I'm gonna go to a bad team, make money, and then just be mediocre for a long time. I feel like that's what he's gonna look at.
Yeah,
He'll
yeah.
be a starter and get really good numbers, and then chill on the Magic with Markel Fultz or whatever.
Well, where was Eric Bledsoe?
He was on the Clippers.
Really?
Yeah, young Eric Bledsoe was on the Clippers, and then he went to the Suns, as you remember.
Yes, I did know.
And
And
then
he looked
there was
great
I
on
don't
the
want to be
Suns.
here.
He looked great on the Suns too. When the Bucks got him, I was like, we're in trouble. Like he looked really good.
He
And
was
then,
paired with Dragic, and that was Dragic's most improved All-Star run.
yeah,
They were together, and then Isaiah Thomas was the sixth man, and that was their weird three-guard rotation that
yeah.
kind of worked.
When Milwaukee traded for him, I thought he was going to be maybe even the second best guy on their team. Did not turn out to be the
Well,
case.
Middleton wasn't
thank
anything
God.
yet. But
Yeah, so thank God he wasn't, because then
that's the Bucks' next step is trading him.
Yeah, probably getting a better guard, a more I've the last couple drafts have been so guard rich, and it seems like they haven't been able to do anything with them. It's weird. Just Trae Young's the only one that's been really showing out.
In terms of just any team drafting a guard,
Yeah, like especially point guard rich. I guess point guard rich. It seems like there's been that's been the flashiest position over the last couple of years in the draft.
like De'Aaron Fox,
And Lonzo,
Fultz, and Lonzo. Yeah,
but none of them have really panned out. Like none of them have done anything to change a team, like drafting a good forward or drafting Luka Doncic would.
well, you said Trae Young, but the Hawks were still garbage this year.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But he is a big player. All right, so and then the Raptors bench is just like Terrence Davis, undrafted rookie. Who cares? But he's awesome. And then Powell, like we said, Malcolm Miller, Patrick McCaw's championship pedigree, Chris Boucher, the G League MVP, and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson from the Nets, and that's like their whole team.
Yeah.
And somehow Nick Nurse makes it work.
Yeah, and with their system they have, It's terrible. I'm totally blanking on their general manager.
Ujiri.
Masai Ujiri. With Masai Ujiri there, that means they're going to be hitting on their drafts moving forward. They're going to be developing talent. They're going to keep the system rolling. So you can sure bet that they're going to get someone in the next draft to supplement that bench. Whether they have 2 picks. So.
That's what's crazy is all these guys are either undrafted or like low picks.
Yeah. Do you think Masai? What's his future with the team?
He has to stay. I think he will too. I know, there's been lots of talk with the Knicks and stuff, but the Knicks do that to literally everyone in every position.
For me,
they're just oh, Kevin Durant, you should come here. Oh, best coach in the league, you should come here. Best GM in the league, you should come here. And then they don't. So
for me, it's just as long as the Raptors raise the pay to match whatever the Knicks offer him, which they can do, that's enough. As long as I understand him leaving for the money. That's totally reasonable. But any other reason, there's no other reason for him to leave.
Yeah, I think he has to keep going with what he started. Yeah.
All right.
So
now let's talk about something a little more serious and important than the Raptors. More integral to our day-to-day lives and more integral to the day-to-day lives of millions of Americans across the nation. And that is the timeless game of horse. I've been getting some horse in. It is. It really is. As long as people speak English and there are equestrians in the world.
Have the basic spelling of a first grader.
Yes, we will be able to play.
I like this graphic.
The wonderful game of horse. Now,
for our audio listeners, there is a basketball hoop, an NBA logo, and a horse, all in one black screen.
Simple.
Pretty wonderful.
Straightforward.
Did you design this?
I stole this from somewhere.
Well, that's how lazy you are. You couldn't just paste 3 photos together.
I didn't, honestly. I just didn't have the vision for this. It's not the ability, it's the vision.
This is very artistic, Hugh. I don't blame you.
It really is. It's just something. It's next level. It's, Steve Jobs, when he designed the iPhone and said, no keyboard, and then later on now, no headphone jack. This is this. No background, no touching images, just sleek.
No symmetry either.
Nope, just sleek and simple.
Yeah. That's the game of horse. It's sleek and simple.
True. Yeah. It's a metaphor, actually. This graphic's a metaphor.
God, we're good at our job. All right.
Pay the man.
You wanted to talk horse strategy. And in these trying times of quarantine, when there are, precautions that must be made when playing the game of basketball, sometimes you might not be able to guard someone one-on-one. Use an old-fashioned hand check or something like that. Do a face-up in the post. You might need to resort to something like horse, where you can safely distance apart and take your shots and achieve the adrenaline rush of winning that's so necessary in the game of basketball. Hugh, what's your go-to horse shot?
Right out the gate. It's half court. Nothing special. Half court heave.
A half court shot?
Yeah, half court heave. I live life on the edge.
We couldn't be more opposite, Hugh.
Okay. Yeah, I live life on the edge, and I like to really just send it. It feels good when it hits. It feels real good when it hits, and it's nothing special. It's just it looks impressive every time. Like no one sees you hit a half quarter.
Even when you do it, it looks impressive.
Especially when I do it, people don't see it coming.
That's true.
But
it's who's this guy trying to play horse? And then he does.
Yeah. So that's
we couldn't be more different, because my go-to is I'm a lefty, so I just go on the left side of the hoop, or I go on the right side and shoot with my, I just shoot from behind the backboard.
Okay.
And it's basically like a layup that you can only do if you're left-handed. So I just screw with people that way. The simpler shot, the better. The more pressure you put on them.
So how is it like you've lost me when I think behind the backboard?
You're on the right baseline, right?
Yes.
If you shoot with your right hand, you're gonna hit the side of the backboard.
Okay.
If you shoot with your left hand, it'll go straight in, and it's just like a little layup.
Yeah. At that point, I'm going over. I'm just
Yeah, see,
forget
that's
the
that's
backboard.
what people have to do. If you say like, "Oh, plant your feet right here and shoot," it's a lot easier for a lefty,
Yeah,
and that's my go-to.
that's smart because the rules of horse are hotly debated on certain courts because certain house rules are very questionable. When you play, can you call right or left hand?
Usually not, unless it's a layup.
You can call
We don't do jump
dominant
shot.
or non-dominant hand. You can call on or off hand. You can't call right or left because that is some nonsense to me. But court
Okay.
placement, that's smart. That makes sense. If
Yeah,
that
that's
you're not
that's a
saying
loophole.
yeah, because I think you can do a one-hander and do it like I'm a righty. I could do it lefty, but then I have to say non-dominant hand instead of this
Sure.
whole right
Okay.
or left that people pull. Another one is
Okay.
how do you feel about repeating shots?
Oh, I do it all the time.
I
You put the pressure on. If I make literally sometimes I just shoot a free throw and like I'll make it and the other person will make it and I'll be just like, I bet you can't do it again. And I just keep shooting like the same shot until they miss.
yeah, see, you're my least favorite kind of person because
Okay, good. I'm glad we established that.
I'm okay with repeating shots if you miss, if you haven't made it yet. But once you've made it, you got to do something new. You got to find slinker. I think there's 3 tiers to this where you can maybe even 4 tiers. The 4th tier, I guess, is can't repeat anything, but that's a little extreme. The next tier is
Come on now, it's horse.
yeah. The next tier is you can repeat until you make it. Once you make it, that's your shot. If they match it, you got to move on. The
Okay,
next
that's usually what I do unless I'm really trying to bother someone.
yeah, that's like gentleman's rules. The next one is you can repeat up until someone gets a letter off of it. If you get a letter off of it, you can't use it anymore. And that's
Okay.
like that's you're pushing it for me. I'm like, I made the shot. Why do I have to do it again? The 4th one, if you can just repeat as much as you want, you're dead to me. You are dead to me. You're canceled. You're out. I'm not coming over ever again. We're not playing basketball. If you are making a shot and I am missing it, and you do that to get me H.O.R.S.E, I'm not even getting to horse. I'm out. Like I'm taking my ball. I'm going home. I'm out.
What
That's
shot is there that someone's gonna make 5 times in a row that you're gonna miss 5 times in a row?
Max, there are some lonely people that practice some shots that are some nonsense, behind the back type of stuff. The kind of, the weird hook shot. My hook shot, it's horrible. It's horrible. Maybe I'll make 1 in 10 from a certain distance. Some people can just hit them all day because they practice it.
You remember the no looker booker? It was he was standing with his back to the basket on like the right like hash mark on the bottom of the key, and there was like zero point 0.3 seconds left on the clock, and he just tipped it up and over his head with 2 hands.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it went in.
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I've perfected that shot.
Really?
I bounce it once on the ground and then scoop it over my head. I hit it probably like 50% of the time.
Yeah, that's the kind of nonsense where if you're doing that just over and over again, then just pick a different game. Like, why are we here? What did you?
Why are we playing horse? Yeah,
Yeah, like
this is horse. goddammit.
This is just.
This
Are
is
you just
America's
flexing?
game.
Like,
Don't
yeah,
ruin this for me.
exactly. So that's that 4th tier. You're dead to me. We're not even friends. You're getting deleted from my contacts.
Okay. So what's your thought on just like non-creative shots at all? Like literally like lefty layup.
Okay, so
Like and pressure's on.
I'm okay with it if especially if you've missed a couple and you just want to make something you tried some crazy stuff a couple in a row and you're just sick of missing every time. You're playing with like 4 different people, so you're waiting for it to get to your turn. I'm okay with just taking something easy, taking what you get. My brother's the worst horse player in the whole world because he will stand under the basket and shoot the same shot like 25 times in a row, like the easiest possible shot until
Gotcha.
and he knows the risk is so low for him because if he misses it, oh, big deal, it's now the other person's turn. But if he makes it but if I miss it, that's a letter, and he just over and over again, like no, maybe call no bank, something like that, and just plop it in 25 times in a row. You're gonna miss one eventually. Like you gotta because you're getting frustrated. You're like, I want to get a chance to set the shot. This is ridiculous. So if you're abusing it, that's the extreme. And in general, if you're just taking easy shots the whole game, I'm going to judge you. But
Hmm.
I'm okay with a layup or two to break up the
Monotony.
yeah, and just break up the missing.
Or just
break up
like sometimes you just run out of ideas.
that too. That too. But especially it just yeah, I like a mix where you're doing crazy stuff and then you're doing normal stuff. You mix it up. What's another go-to shot for you? What's one you really want to make that you're like your killer? That would just the dream scenario is you hit this shot to give the guy an E.
I like hitting I like taking baseline fadeaways. Those are always fun.
Baseline.
Okay. So when my brother and I play, you have to do the dribble move or like the setup to it at the same also. So it's like, all right, dribble down, Euro step back, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I love those are the most fulfilling because they're the hardest to replicate. Even if it looks gross and you have like the worst crossover ever, there's like it's very low replicability. So those are always the most fulfilling because like they're not going to hit it.
Yeah.
Also hook shots. I love hook shots because I'm kind of ambidextrous, so I'm a lefty, but I can shoot hook shots with my right hand really well for some reason.
Okay.
So like a literal like Kareem hook shot in the middle of the paint to go to.
The sky hook coming in it's great because you just don't see it, so you just see the ball coming out and going in. That's a great feeling. Gotta love a nice sky hook. For me, anything where I'm not looking and it goes in, I feel like I'm a wizard. Whether it's I don't know what the shot's called, but when you go
Washington Wizard by chance,
preferably not. A Washington
like MJ on the Wizard's Wizard.
Okay.
So are you MJ on the Wizard's Wizard, or are you like Marcin Gortat with a mohawk wizard?
I'll split the difference. I'll say pre-injury John Wall.
Okay.
Which actually might be better than MJ on the Wizards, but
okay, so like
that's not here nor there.
So like 36-year-old Paul Pierce in the playoffs wizard.
Okay. Sure.
Like I called game fadeaway game winner against the Hawks wizard.
Yeah. I didn't call bank, so I'd say
didn't call bank. He called game.
Yeah, exactly. So
legend.
Yeah. Anything where I'm not looking. What's the shot called where you go up like it's a normal shot, but you put so much spin on it that it kind of goes backwards? Do you know what I'm talking about? Instead of like because
is it a layup or a jump shot?
It's a backward shot.
So like you throw it over your head backwards?
You're going up like you're shooting normally. Like you're going to shoot
yeah, but you're facing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cuz most people when they're doing their backward shot, they're throwing it with a hand on each side and they're just tossing it.
They're doing like the reverse grandma shot.
Yeah, because you have to for a distance. But if you're close, you can do the if you're free throw line.
There are plenty of YouTube videos of guys doing the backwards jump shot from like far away.
Okay, well they're insane. I can't do it from anything further than the free throw line.
Perfect stuff.
Yeah. So I like that shot especially because that one again, you look cool. You look so cool because
I also like jelly layups because like if I was playing you in H.O.R.S.E, I would just do things that involve jumping.
Oh, well, thank you.
So, like, you jump from one side of the key, like, you jump from the left, and you jump, and you have to, like, do a reverse layup on the right.
Uh-huh.
So, like, in our rules, you can do, like, a floater or something like that, and you just have to mark where you jump from.
Mm-hmm.
And that can get with people all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun. That makes it more fun, because when it's just... It definitely takes away a layer of the intensity because if you're playing a guy if it's two just really good shooters, I think that's peak levels of intensity. That's like you can get into grudge match territory where you're just knocking down shots everywhere.
Have you ever played H.O.R.S.E with your dad?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Plenty of times.
Does your dad only shoot mid-range jumpers and bank them in every time?
He mixes it up a little bit. But
because that's like my dad grew up in rural Pennsylvania and he played hockey and football. He hadn't touched a basketball until we were kids and we started playing. So like he kind of shoots like a soccer throw in.
Oh, and
he just like banks it in from mid range all the time.
No, yeah.
And whenever I'm shooting around by myself and he's like home doing nothing or whatever, he'll come down and want to play a game of horse, and it's like the most like white dad game of horse ever.
It is funny to watch dads in the mid range. That's pretty much their spot.
It's like watching LaMarcus Aldridge out there. Just bang, they just don't miss it.
My dad taught me the hook shot though, the sky hook originally.
That's a classic dad shot too.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing.
Did he say something along the lines of "No one can guard it"? It's unblockable.
Yeah. It's a signature.
Well, it depends how tall the defender is, Dad. Because we're 6 foot and under in white, but you get what you can get.
Yeah. So
but we'll have to do a game of horse.
Oh, for sure. Sure.
We could definitely do that, like, even with, like, quarantine stuff going on, too.
It's going up on Twitter, too.
Yeah. You, and Dave.
Yeah.
And we can gamble on it. Loser leaves the podcast.
Loser has to... Yeah. Loser just gets roasted for it. We have one segment on the podcast just roasting him.
We just reminisce about the game of horse and just... So we'll film the whole thing, and then the loser gets their losing footage play-by-play described on the podcast.
yes, that's perfect.
It's like, so it's like, all right, so Hugh's up. He's going to throw a brick from the free throw line here.
That's perfect, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's good.
In-depth analysis. It's the only live sports we're going to get.
So me and Dave will be like the play-by-play commentators, and then you'll just have to do color. It's like we're like interviewing a player on the sidelines. Like, so Hugh, what did you think about that shot right there? What was going through your head?
Well, I don't know, because I hit it and I won, and we're grilling you, Max.
I like
how you're assuming
there's a world where you beat me and Dave in horse.
Okay, you'll see.
I don't. I understand that you're gifted in presenting horse-themed graphics, but it might not translate to the court very well.
Cannot wait till I knock down like 5 straight shots from just Jupiter.
I can't wait to be absolutely infuriated when you actually do. Because you have like your jump shot is one of the least visually pleasing things I've ever seen.
It's about efficiency, all right?
On a court. For our viewers at home, like, imagine if Joakim Noah shot over his head. That's how Hugh shoots a basketball.
Joakim Noah's in the league, okay? I'll take any comparisons that I can get.
All right.
That man was an all-star.
He almost won an MVP.
Exactly.
Yeah. It wasn't for his jump shot, though.
So we'll have to take that to the court. I guess within the month, we'll get that done.
Yeah. Do you think, like, sharing a basketball is anti-quarantine? Or, like, do you think you just bring your own and just shoot that one?
Not sharing a basketball is anti-American. And also...
Well, that sounds like Soviet basketball there. You have to share them.
Oh, that's true. All right, well, I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying we need some consistency among the basketballs being used, or else there may be tampering involved. Why? Who knows? We're all...
You think someone's using Stickum on the ball or something like that?
I'm just thinking if the ball's a little deflated, it might go in easier.
That's not how basketballs work.
I just maybe there's a little less bounce on it because of that. It gets better bounces off the rim rather than bricks.
Well, I mean, if I'm playing with home court advantage, I mean, yeah, I know that rim like the back of my hand. I know how unforgiving it can be. Yeah, you've heard that clang before.
Yeah, it's got that clang for sure.
Yeah, for any like basketball hardware experts out there. My rim, whenever you hit the back of it, it makes like the worst hollow metal sound you've ever heard.
It sounds like he has a triple rim.
But it's not. And that's what makes me mad. Is that like when you miss, it lets you know. It's like it's taunting you. It's just like that shot sucked. So I'm going to make this screeching like metal sound instead of just like the pleasant rattle of a usual, rim. Mm-hmm. This one it doesn't move. It just makes a clang. It's like hitting a bell. It's really disheartening.
A really terrible bell.
Yeah. It's like the bell that they ring before a Sixers game.
I think you got to get a chain net.
No, I live in suburban Massachusetts. That's not going to fly.
Yeah, but we'll feel will feel tough, you know.
No, we won't. We'll be a bunch of white kids playing horse, keeping a social distance.
I love a chain net. Love me a good chain net, though.
Our high school court was a chain net. That thing was terrible.
Yeah.
That was the worst thing ever. It was like a double, triple rim with no with divots in the concrete and a chain net. It was terrible. And the backboard was just a piece of it was just an oval piece of metal. It didn't have the box on it.
Iconic,
I hated
honestly.
that court.
Iconic.
Yeah,
all right,
I couldn't shoot on that, but
we'll have to get to that. I think this has been a solid episode, quarantine edition of the Pass First podcast. There's still no basketball. There's a meeting tomorrow, Friday, with owners and Adam Silver, where they're going to hash out some stuff. So, in
the meantime, you can get your basketball entertainment from us playing horse.
Exactly.
In my backyard in North Shore, Massachusetts.
I'll be there.
If they put that on ESPN, a ton of people would watch just to be around sports again.
Yep, the ratings are there.
People watched Paul Pierce miss layups on ESPN and horse. I'm sure they'd watch us.
Paul Pierce has really done a number on his legacy in the last couple of years.
He really has.
Everything post Celtics was just. There were more downs.
There was
than
that
ups.
one wizard moment.
More downs than ups. And even his last game with the Clippers was pretty. Or his last game at the Garden with the Clippers was pretty beautiful.
His last game as a Clipper was not beautiful. He had zeros across the board.
Really?
That's you never saw that when he was roasting D Wade and they were comparing him and Kobe and all that kind of stuff. It was last game of career.
I'm surprised that Doc wouldn't have given him a little more time to get something.
I don't know. It was weird with him on the Clippers because deep down, everyone in LA still kind of hated him.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I don't know. He didn't get much of a. He got more of a home crowd ovation when he came to the Garden than he did anywhere else. So, well, in the meantime, we're gonna organize this game of horse. I'm excited about it now.
All right. Well, I've been Hugh,
and I'm Max, and
follow us.
We are the Pass First Podcast.
Follow us at Pass First Pod on Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to the podcast. Check us out. We'll see you in a couple days. I think
we're bound to YouTube Live at this point, so we will be using that from now on.
For sure.